Hello, everyone. I'm Eric Cox. I'm a member of the Net Capital team. Let's allow a couple of moments for folks to trickle in. Thank you so much. While you're waiting, if you're so inclined, please feel free to tell us where you're calling from. I'm on the line coming from just south of LA in Orange County, California. Any other Californians on the line? We're also headquartered in Boston. We'd love to see some Bostonians. But go ahead and if you're available to, please let us know where you're calling in from today.
Hey, and while everybody's waiting, they can also check out powerhero.com.
Let's go ahead and start off with the first shameless plug. Go ahead, as always, the companies on the line are actively raising capital. You can go to netcapital.com/companies/power-hero. I'm going to go ahead and add a link to the chat in just a moment as well. But yeah, for sure, go ahead and go to netcapital.com. Let's check out the Power Hero offering while we're waiting. That's a great use of time, Esmond. Oh my goodness, Toronto. I think that might have been the first time we've seen some other Canadians, but I don't think we've actually gotten Toronto. Netherlands, we got Dutch. Frickin' that's
Oh,
fantastic.
well, I love it. I love it. And to to uh, to my friend in Holland, just to let you know, I love Amsterdam,
Beautiful.
and I was originally from one of your Dutch colonies, so some affinity there.
No, that's so amazing. Yeah, absolutely. Amsterdam and the surrounding area is absolutely gorgeous. Tilting at windmills. Carson City, Nevada on the line. Keep cool, brother. We're all trying to do the best we can, and that's awesome. Carson City, Toronto, Temecula, just south of here. Oh man, we're neighbors. Welcome. That's SoCal. And then Chicago, my parents' original stomping grounds. Love that city. That's a
Oh,
great American city.
don't
Some
don't
of the
go
best
there.
architecture.
Don't go there in February.
No, oh, I did. I did. I actually drove. Talk about bad decisions. My wife and I drove from Ann Arbor to Chicago for my birthday, and I'm a Valentine's
Oh,
baby. It was brutal, but it was beautiful still. I
yeah.
love the architecture in Chicago. Botswana, welcome. That's original. Awesome, awesome. Cool. I opened up a can of worms there. That was so much more fun than I expected to have. So thank you so much for folks that are participating. Let me get back to my regularly scheduled programming here. Thank you so much, everybody, for joining. I am super excited to welcome Esmond Goei. I did as best I could on that. I think it was actually pretty good. We talked about it beforehand. He coached me, so it wasn't an accident. Welcoming Esmond Goei, who is the founder of Power Hero here. As always, this company is actively raising capital on the Net Capital platform. I'm gonna go ahead and add a link to that into the chat here so everybody can see that. One moment. There it is. Oops, I actually closed the chat. I already had it open. One moment. There it is. Okay, now everybody should be able to see the link there. You can click the link that I added into chat. You can go to netcapital.com and search Power Hero, or you can go directly to netcapital.com/companies/Power Hero, and that is Power-Hero. So you can go ahead and check that out. You can review the offering page, review the offering statement, and if you are so inclined, you too can invest. A few quick housekeeping items. Please do use the Q&A functionality in Zoom. I know there's also the chat feature that we've been playing around with up to this point, but please do use the Q&A. It makes it so much easier to track all the questions as they come in and get to as many of them as possible. And please do ask your questions. We want to keep this as interactive as possible. This is what we're here for. Esmond and I can hang out anytime. Please come on in and ask your questions. That's what we want to make sure that we do here. With all that being said, thank you for joining. Please join me in welcoming Esmond to tell us a little bit about what he's building here with Power Hero. Come on in, Esmond.
Okay, Eric, everybody see the screen, my slideshow? All right.
We
Okay, so I just want to take about 10 minutes to just review Power Hero and actually go into some detail as to what we've been doing. I think people don't really know the extent of the development that we've been doing in the last few years. And so let me just go through that. Well, we're all about leveraging existing infrastructure and unlocking ecosystem accessible EV charging. But we really go beyond EVs. But well, we're trying to stick around with that first because that is a huge market and it's one of the most exciting market. But I'll let you be the judge when you hear what I have to say about the potential of our technology and products. So, this is what you see on our website, PowerPack and Power Cameo. Those of you who've been with us for a while, you may notice that PowerPack is now a sister product there that on the left of that, and And that's a result of our work with Arrow Electronics. We spent several months with them, starting from last year, and they've been working on designing our architecture for PowerPack, because our patent is quite extensive, and we are building a product that extends beyond what you just see there. And the product on the left kind of allows us to get into the evolution of that product, where we network several PowerPacks. And go into our website. I think you get more information there. I don't want to take up that much time today to do that. But this is the size of the market we're going after. I mean, we're talking about global EV market itself is in trillions, and of course, EV charging follows that market. So where they go, we grow. And the thing that makes companies successful is that there's got to be reason for this market. And the reason for this market is we're all going to die if we don't arrest climate change. And EV, the global market, all the countries in the world are pushing for EV adoption, because hey, without transitioning to EV, climate change will kill us all. So that's a very natural impetus, and there's very few markets out there to invest in that has that kind of driving force. And of course, the technology is here, and awareness is here. So those three are the conditions for for having a successful company. So we spent the last few years by first building the foundation, and we've got 10 patents and 17 more pending. I didn't quite get around to filing my 18th patent because I was busy preparing for this, but that's in the works, and so we'll be filing another patent within days. And from this strong portfolio of 10 patents and 17 more pending, we're starting to develop products now. And AirQ is the first product that we're going to be releasing. And you don't read anything about this in our website. And that's because we've been focusing on building the product, which is what people more understands it from the standpoint of the hardware and the EVs, and that's what we try to show is that. But underlining all of this is the software that is underpinning how all these products work, and how people address and interact with our products. So AirQ is kind of that software mix, and it's going to be released as an app this fall. That's our target, and it's right now. All I can say is that all it takes is money, because we now have established our foundation, and we've got the people, and we just need to have the money to keep moving forward. So this is AirQ is an app that's a mix of Google and OpenTable, and by that I mean that like Google, you search for everything on Google, but what if you need a socket? And we may not think about this, but if you really sit back, how many times have you found yourself you need power, you need to plug in somewhere? Where's the socket? Somehow, when you really need it, you can't find it. It's just like in an airport. This socket may be just behind a column around the corner, but nobody knows. So the idea of this app of AirQ is that we're going to catalog all the sockets out there. And why do I mention OpenTable? Because those of you familiar with OpenTable, which is the restaurant directory and reservation system, is that OpenTable has zillions of restaurants listed. They don't go out there and put all these restaurants, because if it's not a popular restaurant, nobody's going to go and make a reservation anyway. So they rely on people recommending and submitting recommendations of restaurants that should be on OpenTable, and that's what we want to do. We want to adopt that strategy of letting people tell us where they found the socket. It could be, you think it's all everywhere, but when you need it, you can't find it. And so AirQ is kind of a mix of Google and OpenTable. So, and it allows you to search for power. And the first application we're going to be doing is the college campus, because students, 93% of students use laptops and smartphones. And I hardly see anybody with pen and paper anymore. So they run out of power. They need power all day long. And this is kind of just give you a glimpse of the AirQ. We're developing screens and I also should mention that it's AI enabled. And for that matter, you should check out our website because there's now a chat function, a chat bot, and that is also driven by the AI that we're developing. And as a matter of fact, back in 2017, when we filed the first patent, AI is incorporated in that. So we've been talking about AI long before it became popular to talk about AI. So this just expand that show that you're seeing, the process that you sign and log in, and if you find a wall outlet that you can use, you can add that wall outlet into the directory. So I don't want to say too much about this, but that's that's the app that we're going to be launching in the universities, and I'm hoping that it get viral, and students are the best demographic to make things viral. And when they do that, we believe that just drive in our production. And once we lay out that foundation of this directory of sockets, the next thing is to control that socket, and that's by adding the functionality of an Airbnb. And Airbnb, everybody knows Airbnb. If you basically enable Airbnb enables people with rooms that are not used, houses that are empty, and let them monetize that by putting it on the market and renting it out. That's what ePort is all about. Once the outlets are out there, the directory is out there, we'll start driving in the monetization of this outlet. Like, I'm sure the university wants to squeeze an extra buck or two from the students, So like Starbucks, everybody knows Starbucks. When you go to Starbucks, you cannot find a socket that's not used. That's where you buy a cup of coffee and you own electricity for 4 hours. So I bet you they want to figure out a way to monetize that socket, and the ePort enables you to enables the proprietor with that socket to allow it for reservation and charging. So, and from that, we'll expand that concept to Cameo. And the Cameo, as you all know, is for EVs. And we've always started with the desire that we do not want to ship products that requires the homeowners or the Starbucks to have to call an electrician. So this is all plug and play. And the ePort is plug into the socket. You change the screw, the center screw, and you plug it and secure, and it has all kinds of other stuff. And Cameo is the same. You plug it onto an existing charger, the nozzle of the charger, and it connects directly to our cloud. And just imagine, there's 2 million level 2 chargers across America that's sitting in garages. And I've talked to many EV owners, and they say, I've got these chargers, and as a matter of fact, Troy, who is on our board, I think he says he's got 3 chargers because he's got 3 EVs, something like that. And he says that he would love to be able to rent out his chargers because they're not always in use. So once you have this across the United States, you can forget about range anxiety because that's what they all talk about. I'm going to run out of charge. Well, if there's 2 million across the U.S., there's something there. There's probably the charger out there. And I jumped the gun by clicking onto our flagship product here, the Power Pack. The beauty of the Power Pack, and when we get solicitation or someone sends us an email, I wish they're telling us that they want to invest. Instead, they're always telling us, where can I buy this? So it's up to you guys out there in this Q&A to help me get there and get us the cash that we can then deliver these products, because there's people waiting out there. And we're talking to build property owners and across the country, and they're just waiting for this. The beauty about this, it uses existing 110 volt circuits. That's the stuff that's the socket you have at home. And these buildings, 70% of these buildings over 20 years old. They were not built for EVs. I mean, nobody was talking EVs in those days, and only the new buildings are putting in these EV charging. But hey, even these new buildings can save money by using Power Packs. So we save them money, and we think about EV charging from the standpoint of the user, the person who drives that car. What are the situations going to be facing? He could be living in an apartment. He could already have a charger at home, or it could be in a city block. But what happens if he's stranded? That's where Empower comes in. That's our on-call mobile EV charging. When you least expect it, you want to have someone to come and charge you. And that is what we call the PowerNet ecosystem. And that's not obvious from our website. And I apologize for that. Sometimes we are so deep into what we know, what we have, that we don't think about what people want to see. And so this is my last slide. So I just put it up because I think you ought to know that we've got a world-class group of people, aside from our developers, whose background includes the city of Santa Clara and Cisco Systems and so forth. Rob is an entrepreneur himself, and he's a turnaround. He turned around O2 Concepts, and I've done several turnarounds. And Armando is a fabulous corporate securities lawyer, so he keeps us, within the law, because it's so complex, corporate securities. And Howard helps us extend our reach to Asia, where he's so well connected. He was at one point my competitor when I was running another startup called Mayan Networks, and now we're friends, and he's helping us with Power Hero. And Kurt Pringle, he was a two-time mayor of Anaheim, and our focus is California, and we're looking to start with the cities, and so he's really helpful in getting us connected to cities, and there's the reason why we have commitments from 3 cities to do a launch of us. And I left Troy as the last because I invited Troy because I was so impressed with his presentation. So and you guys should take a look at Earthquake. I don't have a problem. You spend some money there, and because it's a fabulous idea. And I started thinking about how we actually complement each other, and I'm not going to say too much because I don't know what I say, whether it's but we're both kind of thinking alike, and I'll just share you from my perspective what I see is that in terms of a compatibility or with complement with Earthquake. Earthquake builds tunnels, and they have several models of their business, and one of the businesses where they build and operate. And we want those to use those tunnels because our system, the patterns that we have, it talks about expanding beyond a locale, and so we want to use those tunnels to connect our cities and our buildings in a grid. And Troy's company Earthquake provides that capability. So we're pretty excited. We're continuing to talk and explore how we can complement each other. But I've already got plans for how I'm going to use his tunnels. So I'll let you guys think about that. But that's all I have to say. I hope it sets a stage for your questions.
Thank you so much for that, Esmond. Absolutely. I think that was a great presentation. And I do think because you have so many really exciting kind of avenues, it is helpful to do like a holistic approach and really take a step back and look at each one individually. So I appreciate you taking the time to do that. One of the ones I think is particularly exciting right now is you talk about technology development and how certain pieces of technology make future potential pieces of technology be able to be adopted. Super excited with what's going on with PowerPack and the ePort decentralized network. For those who are unfamiliar with like the MyQ product, Amazon and a couple other delivery companies early on were struggling with the porch pirate issue, packages being stolen off of front desks or off the front porches. And they actually were giving away, and I have one, they give away access control to garages. And so, one-time passcodes could go to Amazon, and then they can actually open your garage and deliver directly in there. So you can imagine in a world where there's this decentralized network of chargers, where you can have this kind of one access opportunity to be able to come in and charge, and really not have to be at home managing the property or anything like that. It really can be quite seamless. So I'm really glad that you got to share some more about that product, especially. I think is really, really exciting. For those who don't understand the broader market side, kind of EV market and the charging networks, I know you have a great slide on the actual offering page. Can we talk a little bit about what EV adoption looks like? Some folks, I mean, again, there's so many exciting things being developed, hydrogen, and some folks are really still locked in on gasoline. Can you talk a little bit about where the state of EV is and where it's projected to go from now? And you can share screen again if that's helpful.
Well, there's so much about EVs that we really cannot keep track of how big it's growing, and I know that the last year saw some interesting developments, such as Tesla opening up its charging network, and there's pros and cons about what that means, and there's been shocking announcement by Tesla that they laid off or terminated the their team for the charging product. So what everybody was trying to figure out what does that mean. Uh, but when they announced that they were opening up the network, that was an impetus for me to actually uh, 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 this is the reason why we came up with that additional product that you saw out there that we worked on with Arrow, and why we were focused on building the architecture. Because how do you accommodate these things that happens in the EV industry? Uh, and this is why it was so important for me to focus on developing a robust foundation of IP, because we didn't skip a beat. The fact that Tesla opened it up to all the other car manufacturers, because our power pack can be used for any car. So it's not a matter of just if you happen to have a Tesla, or because until they open this up, only Tesla cars can use Tesla network, but our power pack can be used by any car. So that's one of the things that we're doing. And as everybody knows, EV is just spreading like wildfire, and wildfires are hard to stop.
And that's a great point about being able to cross charge and expanding the network, the Tesla network, which has kind of arguably become the industry standard in the space. And that does, we have seen more, I think, more adoption in EVs in virtue of folks being able to be able to have better infrastructure. Infrastructure was one of the criticisms early on. So I'm grateful for all the early adopters that led to a robust infrastructure
Yeah,
we have now, and allowed my
I,
wife
I
and I
might
to
I
benefit
might
from
point
that.
out I might point out, Eric, that and when you mentioned early adopters, it, those happen to be the young. Okay, and, maybe, and I between 30 and 45. I like to think of everybody as being young, but and when they're starting out, where do they live? Apartments. you know, and so even if they're the early adopters and they want to get EVs, they can't, because the buildings don't have charging. And this is the strategy that when we when we release the app for ePort, I mean for AirQ, the first place we'll do it is colleges. Okay, because that's these kids, they're going to go through college, and we're kind of going to grow with them, and they've already used to using power from Power Hero, and they'll hear all about us, about our power pack, and when the seniors graduate, they're going to be saying, hey, where can I find power to charge my EV? And we'll be there with our power pack. We'll be there with our Cameo, and because they're the ones that are first going to apartments.
And at risk of being a bitter millennial, some folks will likely be apartments long term. So we won't
Yes.
dig into that issue, but that's to note. There might be even greater value if you could solve that problem in the apartment, given
Well, and
the
as we
semi-permanent
grow
apartment dwelling.
older, we go back to apartments. so I've had my phase with 6,000 square foot homes, and indoor pools and all that. But now I just want minimalist, uh, simple apartment, no maintenance.
Well, God bless you for that. No, I'm kidding. Back to the market size just for one moment. On the offering
Sure.
page, we discussed a couple of metrics I think are super critical for folks to know. About $500 billion global electric vehicle market, massive growth, projected to surpass $1.5 trillion market by 2030. That's
Hmm.
just a handful of years away. That's growing at about an 18% figure. The EV charging market is projected to grow even faster at about a 25.5% figure. So there's some pretty interesting data points there that I want to make sure that potential
Yeah.
investors heard on the video.
Yeah, and it's a fact that JD Power had researched this, and there's statistics coming out of DOE, Department of Energy too, that shows that 54% of people that buy EVs or lease EVs install a home charger. But and the competition has read this all along. They think when they think 80%, is at home, they start thinking, well, there's not enough public chargers. So the competition has been really adopting a land grabbing strategy. So they're rushing out there to put in charging stations at malls and wherever. But if you drive around, these public stations are empty. And because they misinterpreted that data of people charging at home, that over 80% of people charge at home, that statistic should be interpreted as saying that people won't buy EVs if they cannot charge at home. See, the charging at home is not just a statistic. It's a reflection of what we consumers want. We will not want to start our day with our phone out of charge. We will always plug in our phone overnight when we go to bed. The first thing we do, we plug in our phone because you don't want to be hunting for power during the day when you're using it. The same goes for EV. So that just exacerbates the concern about apartment buildings, because that 80% really translate to people with homes, detached homes, not people in apartments. So the problem, the apartment building is really, really very dire. And I like to kind of use an analogy of fishing, and I love fishing, and I used to go every year until I hit a perfect storm, and I was caught in a storm, and that scared the hell out of me. And I had waves that were 15 foot up, and I had my whole entire team of my networks with 2 boats, and we didn't think we would survive. But anyway, after that, I never fished in Alaska anymore. But the reason I bring up fishing is that I hate it when I go fishing and I come back empty, right? So when I learned that you could get guides who know where the fishes are, hey, I paid the big bucks just to get the guide, okay? Because he has all the equipment. He's got the sonar, and he takes you where the fishes are, and you always come back with fish. That's the same way I look at the EV charging. We don't want to spend a lot of money like all these other competition trying to broadcast to the world to come to use your publisher. I know where the fishes are. They're in apartment buildings. I just have to go to the apartment buildings. We have people that own apartment buildings say, we want to put this in. How do we put this in? So I just need the money to get to the into production.
Yeah, I think you described the user experience of the home charger, which again, unbelievable. I think it's incomparable. I never experienced that with gas. With no one's delivering gas to your home during non-peak hours, but just constantly being able to not just do away with the charging or the filling up experience. Unbelievable. We talk a little bit about, some people might think, well, why not just convert your 110 volt to a 240 volt? Because I know what my quotes were to install a 240 volt in my home. So could you talk a little bit about what the cost and the experience of the alternative is? And Irvine, it's not cheap.
Yeah. Well, we're targeting and Arrow Electronics sort of verified this, but we had initially projected that it would cost us about $2,000 to get a power pack built. And so Arrow kind of confirms that that's around the area. And that cost is going to go down. But our model is to lease that power pack, and not just to tenants of apartment buildings, but if you think of the Peloton model, they don't buy that Peloton machine, they just lease it. That's kind of the idea. The Peloton costs us around that ballpark, and so that's our model. Is that particularly if you're looking at a lower income to moderate income, they're not going to buy a power pack. They can't afford to buy parts. But leasing this and have that incorporated into your monthly rental is the way to go. So that's kind of our approach to it, to make it more widespread. How we're going to get that accepted is that one thing's for sure: no matter how broke you are, you will somehow find a way to get a car. And that's why there's 234 million cars in America today. So that tells you that one of the big greatest channel to reach our market is through the dealers. And so we started talking to dealers that says, hey, when you're trying to sell an EV, what's the biggest hurdle? They have is access to charging. Well, when the guy comes to you, tell them you have power pack, take care of that problem. Nobody, if you solve people's problem, they will buy from you. so so it's very it's very compatible with our model that with as far as these car dealers.
That's a very, very good points. And even for folks who own their homes, the installation quotes were about $5,000. So for even for folks that would theoretically convert from 110 to
Yes,
240 and install that
yes,
out, even homeowners, I imagine, would be super pumped about an
yes,
alternative to paying $5,000 to convert to 240. So I just want to make sure we get that out there
yes,
too.
yes. Yeah, not only
Mm.
that, because these homeowners, a lot of the old homes don't have enough power coming in. Okay, new homes now are building them with 200 amps coming into the property, but older homes don't have that feasibility, and it costs you an arm and leg to get the utility to come in to put that in.
Yep, lots of older homes, 60, even 80, compared to what you were just describing. So a far cry from where they need to be. Some really cool questions coming in here. Are the products ready to use? Sorry, are the products ready to use a vehicle? Actually, I think it's just hard to read this. Actually, are the products ready to use the vehicle to grid as well? Let's repurpose that and
Oh,
say, are the products
yeah.
ready? And then will the vehicles be able to charge from the grid as well? I think that's my best guess.
That is actually one of the patents that's pending, is being able to use your vehicle to and feed the power back to the grid. I know there are vehicles out there that have already come out with ability to do that, but one of the benefits that I think like advantages we have is that, uh, and I think I can say this because it's already being in process, but we look beyond that. We look at communities uh, coordinating all the EVs in that community, so that it becomes a backup to the city as opposed to just a backup to the home. Because I think of our power pack as partly a defense mechanism against attacks on our grid. Uh, and that happens.
And we don't want to get doomsday here, but the grid has some particular vulnerabilities. Not the strongest infrastructure, unfortunately.
Yeah,
Um, Somebody mentioned this is actually a good question. There have been lots of conversations about development in battery technology, and I think it's worth taking a quick detour here for a moment. There's
absolutely.
conversations about supercharging these batteries to where they can do thousands
Yes,
of miles of range.
yes.
Can we talk a little bit about some of, and you're a mechanical engineer, maybe we could talk a little bit about the complications, even with just
Yeah.
there's like a really difficulty with like these really high density and really kind of high weight minerals and the capacities that they could. Why don't we talk a little bit about that kind of the
Yeah.
optimism behind a just super battery for lack of a better phrase.
Well, that of itself deserve a Q&A session of itself, but we're very excited about the developments that we're seeing. And the mention about the Chinese. Yes, I've read about that one company where they basically increased the power to density ratio, and that's very, very exciting because it does extend your range. But keep this in mind though, range anxiety is not about just having enough to go far. It's range anxiety is just being about being in a place where there is charging, not trying to get to some place. It's a two factor kind of a situation, that you want to know that wherever you go, there's charging, not just how to get there with the car. But the battery technology, there's many kinds of batteries technologies. Unfortunately, probably we at least at the minimum, it's probably 3 years out. Uh, but some of the most interesting are the graphene technology. And when I look at these batteries, my concern are really twofold. One is how safe, and also is the density, power density to weight. Because it has to be light enough that you can pack enough power. And it's really great for us because it just means that we can put more power into our power pack. So and as people talk about silicon battery, all those are great, but they are years away, still years away. And we try and keep on top of that, and because we want to be one of the first to use all those. But I'll step back and tell you that we've had in my previous life, we were in the battery business, solar powered battery storage, and we use lithium iron phosphate batteries, and those are gotta be the safest. To this day, I mean, I started that company in 2006, and to this day, I've not had any incidents or any reports of any of those products that we sold catching fire. So they're one of the safest lithium iron phosphate battery, LiFePO4. So yes, and the prices are coming down, okay, on these batteries, because the more competition there are, and who knows, I mean, Elon Musk seems to be diverging away from EVs. So maybe that factory he has of building batteries become available for for people like us.
I love that concept. And I think an analogy that I've heard with with some of these like really exciting, promising battery technologies is kind of like to autonomous vehicles. I remember studying autonomous vehicles in the regulatory framework, almost 10 years ago in law school. And we still don't really have a truly commercially viable level 4 autonomous vehicle at this point.
Yeah,
I remember watching one
yeah,
try to do a U-turn 6, 7 years ago, and I remember thinking, okay, this is further away than we were hoping. These are really kind of promising, and I think hopefully, we can continue to make advancements in that direction. But it does seem like it's going to probably just take a little bit of time before we can have some of those like the
yeah,
competency ratio issues
yeah.
resolved.
Autonomous vehicle charging is part of our uh, plans, because that's part of the pattern that we cover is for mobile charging. Uh, you know, we and that's one of the things we're thinking about in terms of EarthGrid's tunnel. Having these autonomous charging stations go back and forth. Between buildings. I mean, I think not just cities, but between buildings. If you go to Asia, and city states like Singapore, all the buildings downtown are interconnected. You know, so even though the temperature is high up there, people just live in comfort because they stay in air condition, and they they go about their business between buildings all underground. And I'm trying to introduce EarthGrid to some people there, and because I used to spend a lot of time in Singapore managing the government of Singapore money, um, and I think this Net Capital has some exciting companies in there.
Yeah, we recently worked with, and I won't name any names. We recently worked with a graphene company that raised relatively well as well. And yeah, we believe in these really exciting, promising technologies. So we're so grateful to be able to work with promising founders like you and help you get to the next level. I want to do a quick shameless plug, and then I want to dig a little bit deeper into your IP strategy because I think that's one of your strong
Yeah,
suits. A lot of early stage companies just
yes.
do not have this level of intellectual property protection. So I'm going to do one quick shameless plug. Boom, added into the chat there. Again, a reminder that we're on the line with the co-founder and CEO of Power Hero. They're actively raising capital on the Net Capital platform. You can select the link that I just added to the chat feature in Zoom, or you can go to netcapital.com and search Power Hero, or you can go directly to netcapital.com/companies/power-hero, where you can review the information. And if you're so inclined, you too can invest. All right, cool. Let's keep the party going here. So I love digging into when I think about competitive analysis, I think about other players in the space, and I think about differentiators. One of those oftentimes is defensibility and intellectual property. But maybe we can take a quick moment and talk about, are there other players trying to do something similar? Have anybody gained traction in the space? And then can you talk about how you kind of have a moat, so to speak, with this intellectual property strategy that you adopt?
Well, we seen glimpses of people kind of having light bulb moments about what we're doing, and a couple of them that I started tracking is not around anymore, um, and partly because I think they didn't spend the time to think deeply about the foundation, the IP portfolio. They just look at it from the standpoint of the product, and then trying to patent those products. We think in terms of capabilities, functionalities, so that it goes beyond the current market, because you cannot predict what happens in the market. In an emerging growth market, you can't tell which way it's going to go. So you have to have the IP that allows you to maneuver and be flexible. And we already started thinking beyond electricity. Okay, so that the IP that we file always talks about the universality of the concept, so that it's if we can reserve charging stations for EVs, that's a functionality that can be used for hydrogen stations, and EV is not going to be 100%. I mean, of the market, because there'll be functions that tasks that's better accommodated by hydrogen vehicles. As a matter of fact, we talked about using hydrogen as a source for our mobile platforms, because when we have a mobile station, the mobile station, obviously we cannot use a gasoline powered van for our EV charging, right? And so we started thinking about, why not use hydrogen vehicle as the van? Because let's face it, if the van itself, our mobile charging station itself uses an EV, hey, then we're in the same boat. Where do we charge our EV? And hydrogen, in our opinion, is a good alternative for a zero emission platform. So in our patent, we go beyond just what is the current flavor, of zero emission. We think in terms beyond, and that's why we are so comfortable with our IP portfolio. That I think we've got 2 patents covering cameos, 2 covering the network. And let me talk a little bit about that, because when we file, there are many aspects of the technology and the product, because we address the charging network. So we filed patent for that describes how we would do reservation of these charging stations, and how we keep track of the cars that need charging, and then when we start thinking about the homes, how do the homes get online? Because if we have to start sending electricians to the home to get them as an Airbnb, I mean, it may be a great idea, but you can't make money. And if you can't make money, you're gonna die. So it doesn't do anybody good. So there's a lot of thought into our IP portfolio, is that in terms of being holistic, as you mentioned earlier, that you got to think beyond what the current market. And I'm glad we did that, because if we followed the crowd back 7 years ago, we would be trying to, sell stations like Blink, like ChargePoint, like, all these guys, and go after the public market, but nobody's using these stations.
I love the mention of hydrogen as well, because that is a really exciting one. Your only byproduct is water, and I think that does help diversify your risk. I hadn't really thought about kind of all eggs in one basket like that, where you're delivering energy
Yeah.
in a vehicle that uses that exact same energy. Very, very thoughtful.
But that's you see, AirQ goes beyond just 110 outlets. It will expand the database organization, how we organize the data, will accommodate hydrogen stations or gasoline stations, but we're going to be in that space where there's so many different technologies out there, or platforms. It's not. We want to be the only guy that people click on to say, hey, let's AirQ that. I got a hydrogen. Let's AirQ that. I want to charge my laptop. Let's AirQ that. So that's what we mean by this ecosystem. That's what we're trying to build. EV is just a stepping stone to something bigger. I think the opportunity is going to outlive me, but I hope the IP will be there.
and without any promise of future success. And I'm definitely not comparing Power Hero to already, kind of superstar companies. So let me be super clear there. But you do see Airbnb kind of leading to that's for homes, right? Kind of the
Yeah,
access to other people's homes. And then Turo like spun up right large, like kind of very quickly after that, where if you have a car that's just sitting in your garage, you can actually let people come and rent that. And
yes,
I think there's really kind of this, not owning the underlying asset, but not allowing people to access these things. One, it creates less waste. It's unbelievable, how many of these resources that people could benefit from go unutilized. And two, I think it just increases the user experience for folks who might just need, a truck for a day or an EV for a day. And I think that could be some really exciting opportunities. So, okay, cool. Somebody's asking here. So this is interesting. Yeah. So a recent development is the rising price of copper. People are stealing the charging connection stations, hoses for the copper
yeah.
wire. And I did see an article about that in the Bay Area. There might be an opportunity here in solving this problem in that your resources would be protected. That's a really interesting point there.
Yeah.
Anything you want to add on to that at this point?
Well, I don't have anything to add to that, but I want to point out something about the power pack, and I think it's safe to say this because I think we've already have patents underway on that. But um, and I think it's partly covered by a power pack. But imagine this, okay? What if every Uber driver has a power pack? So,
Revenue stream on something you're already doing.
right? So,
There's no, yeah.
so wherever you are, you're not just calling for food or to be picked up. You're calling for a charge. And who that is the best way to accommodate the need because there are more people out there driving around than we could ever put out there. We could not put out enough mobile stations. And we already know how to do the mobile charging station. It's just a matter of priority for us. It's not a priority for us because we believe there are other alternatives for that. First of all, people always say, well, you can always tow your car. Yeah, yeah, but but I think people don't like that experience. They rather have you charge on the spot. But our patents, it's when I think about our patents, sometimes I don't remember what patent we have because, and I don't remember which patent talks about it. But I believe we cover even situations like where, and I believe we described this. I just don't remember whether it was granted in the claim to it. Imagine, people talk about range anxiety and talking about big batteries so that I can get 300 miles, But hey, I myself don't like driving 300 miles. What if I can put my car on a train and charge while it's on the train and then sit in the caboose, having a dinner? I want to do that. So that's kind of mentioned in our patent for mobile charging station. So, our portfolio really is quite, it's quite broad. I hope I live long enough to enable all of them because that's what's exciting about starting companies. Why that it keeps me going is that it's like it's just exciting just discovering new things to do all the time.
That's a fun thought exercise. The idea of like we're trying to pack as much power out of these batteries as possible to increase the range. But even just the decentralized network, if you just knew that there were dozens and hundreds of places to get quick charging along the way, you could skinny down to a smaller battery pack, decrease weight, do some interesting thing. And we're still figuring out. Remember, we're coming up on the edge of a lot of these batteries needing to be recycled again. We have to extract the minerals to begin with to create the batteries, and then we have to figure out what to do with the byproduct after they become, kind of without use. Sorry, we got another question
Yeah.
coming in. We're having a blast here. We're almost at the end. Oh my goodness, we have so many questions to get in here. No, this is going to be a good one. When do you see the first meaningful revenue generation? Excuse me.
Well, meaningful to me would be next year because when we release AirQ, it's going to go into the college campuses, and it really depends how quick that takes off. Uh, but and we're not going to charge students right away, so we don't see. But you never know if we can get to that stage, and then and that lays the groundwork for e-port. E-port is when we get the universities themselves involved, and that's where I think the revenues will come in. So I'm hoping that before the end of the year we'll start seeing some revenues, but it's not meaningful. Uh, my approach to it is always to lay the groundwork first. And like Amazon. Amazon took like 20 years before they became profitable, but now you can't touch them. Nobody can do another Amazon. Just nobody. And I kind of have that mindset, but we have to be practical. Investors also are fickle, but we think that this is the right way to do it. The software. You see, hey, we didn't raise all the money we wanted to raise, and so that always impacts our schedule. But I've been here before, and you have to respond. You have to react. You have to take Plan B and Plan C, and and AirQ was, we didn't really want to bring out AirQ until we came out, with the Cameo or something. But hey, software development is a lot cheaper than hardware development because software, I just give the guy a powerful laptop and he's cranking away, and hardware I gotta buy stuff and I gotta build prototypes. It's just expensive. I had one company that, well, I don't want to talk about it. That one, they were spending like 15 million a month, and I don't ever want to experience that
No, I think
again.
that's really good. That's a really good point. And it's a fun reminder that actually it wasn't selling books that led to Amazon's profitability. It was Amazon Web Services,
Yeah.
a wholly distinct avenue altogether. So I want to circle back to some of these things. So you've had some really exciting deal highlights up to this point. So I'm not sure if there are any of the kind of the successes in the past that we'd like to reiterate at this point. And then I also like to think a little bit about some of the future. And I think you've done a really good job talking about some of the products that are being developed. But can you just do a quick little past to present to future, and then I want to have one more question I'd love to sneak in. So if you can only take a couple minutes, that'll be great, Osman.
Yeah, I want to remind people that when you invest, there are many strategies of how you invest, but ultimately, you've got to look at a track record of the people you're investing in. And I tell you, it's not always been easy for me. I mean, I've had my failures. The one being that the Mayan networks, where we were struck down by 9/11, in 2001. I had three people in that building. Fortunately, they came out. I mean, they were in and out before the tragedy. But that was a company that I mentioned, Mayan Networks, that we hit a unicorn valuation of 1.8 billion. Okay, yeah, and but so that was a situation where that impacted everybody. But where I can is I focus on what I can control, and what I can control is cash burn. All right. And so when we did not get the money that we expected, and there's all kinds of reasons, but for example, our our current funding, we got delayed by our auditors. And I can't imagine how hard it is to audit an engineering company. I mean, all we have is bodies. We don't even have revenues, so it's not like we're playing with revenue figures and we got them started on the audit in October, and they didn't finish till April. So instead of being live, so that impacts our fundraising ability. So you have to adapt. So I want people to appreciate that we have been, my team has been through these ups and downs, and we know how to respond to situations that just comes up. And AirQ is kind of a display of that. We just accelerated the introduction of that as a product first. And I always believe that nothing is by chance. So God inspired me to bring this out, and I think it's just going to work out. I mean, I'm a very optimistic guy.
You and me both, brother. Okay, I'm going to sneak in this last question because I love this one. I added this recently, and I think folks have been really receptive to it. Outside of the cash, which obviously is the primary emphasis of doing this thing, and I do encourage folks to click the link in the chat or visit Net Capital and search Power Hero and potentially invest. But outside of cash, how can folks in the line help you achieve your goal?
I'm sorry, I didn't get that.
how can folks on the line right now, how can the people in this Q&A or the people that watch this recording, how can they help you? Because obviously
Hey,
invest, that would be number one. But besides that,
yeah.
how else could they help you?
Well, I really appreciate the hundreds of people that have invested in us, and uh, I'd like to encourage them to go beyond their own wallet because we're doing things that will benefit all society. It's only fair that as many people out there help us get there to benefit them. So all I ask is that you point them our way. Let them, we have many videos that explains the company. You go to take a look at our CNBC airing, and we have videos on site, and you can always reach me. I'm reachable. I try to respond. So it's very simple. Email Esmond@powerhero.com. So reach out with your questions, or you offer to help. If you want me to present to any groups out there, I'd be happy to do that. But it takes a village. It takes a village, a big village, because we're trying to go fix this climate problem, right? So the benefits everybody. It's not just the potential of making it a big return. We get to live.
Well, I mean, I think that's probably about as good as a conclusion as we can get. So thank you so much for joining me, Esmond. I'm trying to pronounce. I know you say people tend to mispronounce your name, but I'm going to go straight to the way that it's encouraged to be spoken. So thank you so much for joining and telling us all about
It's my
Power Hero.
pleasure.
Thank you so much to all the folks, dozens of folks on the line asking very thoughtful questions and engaging with the content there. So thank you so much for taking time out of your day for joining. I personally am grateful to be a small piece of the village that you're creating here. And do know I'll be a supporter of yours. And when you're ready to get that access control, my charger is available for anybody who needs it. And I'm going to go ahead and do this now. And I mean that. That's on the record. That's recorded. So let's go ahead. I'm going to do one more last little piece. I'm adding a link to the YouTube. This has been recorded and will be uploaded. As Esmond mentioned, if you know somebody who might be interested in learning more about this and potentially investing, please do share them the link, let them review some of this information. And if it is, within their capabilities, they can then participate through the investment portal through Net Capital. So I added a link to the YouTube there, or you can just go to Net Capital, or you can just go to YouTube and search Net Capital. If you go to Net Capital and search YouTube, it won't work as well. But if you go to YouTube and Capital, you'll be able to see this recording. And again, if you missed anything, feel free to re-up on that. And
Yeah.
please share this broadly. And again, thanks again for the folks and your questions. And thank you, Esmond, for the hard work you're doing and working with us here at Net Capital.
Thank you, Eric, and thanks for the Net Capital team. They're very supportive.
Our pleasure. Well,
Thank you,
enjoy the
everyone.
rest of the afternoon. Take care.